Teaching skills.
Do you need teaching skills to join an Angloville program? No, but Angloville is a great place to acquire practical teaching skills. So what are the do's and don'ts to ensure that our local participants only use English throughout the week? Here are 3 tips that I have for you. 1. Relax. 2. Be proactive. And 3. Take initiative. Ideally, a conversation will have about a 50-50 speaking ratio with you and the local participant. But you might find they are a bit shy at the beginning of the week, so maybe it will be about 70-30 in favour of the international participant to begin with. But as the week progresses, ideally it will end up around 50-50 or maybe even 60-40 in favour of the local participant. We should make sure our local participants are using their time effectively in the sessions by writing down new phrases in their notebooks, for example. So from my personal experience, I would recommend that you do the following. Be a good and open listener. Facilitate conversations, but make sure that you're not dominating them. Encourage the participants, acknowledge their efforts, and give them encouraging, constructive feedback. So now let's talk about the don'ts. Some of them may seem obvious, but immersion programs may be new to you, and we want to make sure that you have all of the basics covered. Criticizing the local participants' ability or making them feel judged will definitely hinder their confidence and really damage your rapport with them. Instead, constructive criticism is the best way to provide them with feedback and encourage them to grow and develop and not damage their confidence. Put yourself in an English learner's shoes and create a safe and encouraging space where people can grow. It is important that when we interact with people, we do it in a calm, professional manner. We don't get angry, we don't get openly frustrated, because we don't want to give the wrong impression of ourselves and create an awkward or negative atmosphere. Using inappropriate language or a negative tone can really affect the rest of the group and have a big effect on the program overall. Arguing with local or international participants or the coordinators is something that we do not want to do. Constructive feedback given in private in the right way is very much appreciated. However, open and public constant negativity is not what is needed on the program. Now let's talk about corrections. When do we do this and how do we do this? It is an important thing because a lot of our local participants really appreciate this aspect of the program. It is important at the beginning of your sessions that you ask your local participant if they want to be corrected and how often they want to be corrected, and if so, when they would like these corrections. Usually, our participants with less advanced English want to be corrected less because they just want to break through their barrier. However, our more advanced participants often appreciate these corrections and want them a lot more. So because of this, you will naturally find yourself correcting our more advanced participants a lot more because they are looking to take their English to the next advanced level. If you notice a mistake, try not to correct them straight away. Let them finish the sentence and then let them know the mistake and talk about how they can avoid this mistake in the future. You can also encourage the participants to write down their mistakes in the notebooks along with your corrections. When correcting, it's important that we find the right balance. If you correct them too much, you might see that they lose their confidence. However, if you correct them too little, they might feel like they are not making enough progress or that you're not as engaged as you should be. Obviously, corrections can be a very sensitive and difficult topic. So on the programs, if you have any kind of questions or want some guidance, please talk to your coordinator. They will be more than happy to help you. So let me give you a little tip. A great way to give the feedback is to be encouraging to the participant as well as give them feedback on the mistake they have made. One thing that we can do to do this is called the sandwich method, and this is how it works. Step 1 is to give some positive feedback. Step 2 is to then draw their attention to the mistake they made and give them some constructive criticism on how to improve. And then following this, you can finish with some more encouraging and positive feedback for them. So let's take a look at an example. Step number 1 could be, it's great to see the progress you've made from yesterday. I can really see the confidence that you've gained and the steps that you have taken. Step number 2 could then be what I would do to move even further forward with your English is to make sure you're using the articles that we talked about yesterday. And step number 3, but overall it's great to see the work that you're doing and the effort that you're putting in, and I know that by the end of the week you will have made even more progress than you have already. So how to lead a good session. Here are some tips about how to lead an effective and fun session and get the most out of your time with Angloville. First of all is your attitude. A lot of the participants will begin very shy, and if you enter with an enthusiastic and positive attitude, that will really help bring them out of their shell and make them feel comfortable. And when they feel comfortable, the session will be a lot more easy for you to run. Next is to be on time. It's really important that we're there when the session begins so our participants are not waiting for us. It's also important to make sure we finish after 50 minutes and take a 10-minute break before the next session, because we have a lot of sessions during the week and it's important for you and the local participant to get some rest in between the sessions so you can function well for the entirety of the day and you don't get too tired. Make some suggestions. Like I said, a lot of our participants may be a little shy and out of their comfort zone. It helps if we can suggest some activities or things to do if people are feeling a bit stressed. For example, taking a walk or a nice easy language-based game. Next is about language. We all know that Angloville is about free and open communication. However, the more new words that we give to our local participants, the more that they will feel they gained from the week. So it is absolutely okay to encourage the participants to write down new phrases and new words in their notebook. By the end of the program, they will have a very useful notebook full of new phrases and words that they can then take home and study even more by themselves if they want to. And finally, differences. Obviously, there are different types of English, such as American, British, Australian. Explain these differences to your local participant so they don't get confused about why some people are saying things a bit differently to other people. So next, I will tell you some useful tools that you can have in your sessions. Firstly, having an English dictionary on your phone. This is very useful when you find yourself having to explain some words to one of the local participants and you're not quite sure how to phrase this properly. Also, it is good to have some pictures or interesting images from your home country to show them and to have something to talk about to do with your culture. It's also useful to have some interesting short videos, such as TED Talks. These are good things to generate some discussion and some topics to talk about. And finally, you can bring certain card games or board games from your home country to use as a language-based way of learning in a really relaxed and fun atmosphere. When bringing anything, please consider that most of our language learners have about an intermediate level of English. So make sure that it's not always too complicated and that it is quite understandable for them. Also, do you play a musical instrument, such as a guitar? If so, feel free to bring it along. It is a great thing to have during social time and a way to really ease the mood and relax everybody. Next, what about when the local participants are speaking a bit too much in their local language? If you see that our local participants are speaking a bit too much in their local language, it's a really good idea to then go and join the conversation, because when you join it, they then have to speak English and switch to the language that we are meant to speak at the programs. When you join, you can simply ask them, what are you talking about? And then they will definitely have to tell you, and the conversation is naturally switched to English. If the problem persists, it's no problem for you to simply tell them, look, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you were talking about. Can we switch to English so I can understand what the conversation is about? If, despite all of your efforts, the problem still persists, it's important that you flag these issues to one of our coordinators so they can deal with it themselves. And what about if the student is really shy and doesn't want to talk at all? So in this situation, because we are the native English speakers and we're more in our comfort zone, it's important that we take the initiative and we accept the burden of steering the conversation and trying to get it flowing well. One bit of advice I would give is to refrain from closed questions. So questions with just a yes or no answer. Try and ask more open-ended questions that encourages them to explain a little bit. For example, how did that happen? Why did that happen? What happened next? I personally like to ask for their opinion on things. How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts about this? Not do you like this, but what do you think about it? Showing some pictures that are really important to you on your phone to them, such as your family or your hometown or your pets, can be a great way to trigger conversations, and you can ask the participant to show you some pictures that are important to them. And like I said, this can be a great way to really trigger and start some conversation. If on your program you need some help with bringing a participant out of their shell, or you're worried with how shy they are being, you can speak to your coordinators and they will help troubleshoot on the program for you. And finally, what can our local participants teach you? So our immersion and cultural exchange programs are a two-way street. So you will benefit from meeting and speaking with our local participants, and they will have a lot to share about their culture, their profession, and their lives as well. You will see that on our adult programs, a lot of our local participants are business owners, doctors, lawyers, very successful people with a lot of experience in different areas of life. So take the time to ask them about their lives and their culture. What you learn, I promise you, will surprise you. On our junior programs, our teenagers are very ambitious, very passionate, and very driven. So while they do not have the life experience of the adults, they have many interests, many hobbies, and they love sharing them with you guys. Overall, all of our participants on the adult programs, the junior programs, and the kids programs are super enthusiastic about learning English and about new cultures, and I know that you will have an amazing time with them all.